Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alfred, and I am the Director of Marketing Ops here at Magaya. And I am so happy to be joined here by the who's who of panelists. We have some incredible topics that we're going to go ahead and discuss. But first up, I'd like to make some introductions. We have the incredible Jeanette Fonseca. Jeanette is one of our talented account managers. She is actually a senior account manager. And I also have the good privilege of calling her my friend. Go ahead and say hi, Jeanette.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for being with us here today.
Fantastic. And next up, we have the incomparable Allison Wilson. Allison is our solution specialist here at Magaya. She is brilliant, but we knew that already because she's also a huge fan of the Kansas City Chiefs. Go ahead and say hi, Allison.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy to be here with you today.
Brilliant. And then last but not least, we have Fernando Tavera. Fernando is our product manager for WMS, and he is incredibly gifted at any and everything that has to do with warehousing. Go ahead and say hi, Fernando.
Hey, Alfred. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here.
Hi. All right, so let's go ahead and let's talk about why you're here and you signed up for this afternoon's webinar. Pretty much in a nutshell, in today's rapidly evolving logistics industry, maintaining up-to-date and efficient software is crucial for success. It's not even if you need it, it's you have to have it. This webinar is geared towards helping you determine when it's time to switch your current freight forwarding software and how to choose the best new system to set you up for success. And here's how you can level up your software and ensure your business stays ahead of the curve. Now, before we go into the nitty gritty, I always like to start off these webinars just to shake out some of the nerves that we all have right now. Even though we're doing this virtually, it's a pretty large audience. And I like to start it off with a personal question. So now that we're noticing that the days are getting shorter, the nights are getting longer, we always have that one comfort movie that we come back to time and time and again once it starts getting a little crispier out there. So go ahead, and we'll start with Jeanette. I guess we'll start in the order that I presented you guys. Jeanette, tell me what's your go-to comfort fall movie? By the way, this was completely unscripted, so they're probably all going to beat me behind a dumpster after this webinar. Go for it.
Well, I have two. The kid in me will say Coco for Halloween, and for
Nice.
Thanksgiving, the more fall feel, definitely A Family Stone.
Nice. That Sarah Jessica Parker, right?
And Diane Keaton, so awesome cast.
Quality entertainment right there. All right, Allison, let's hear yours.
Good choices, Jeanette. The first thing that came to mind was the just original classic Halloween, but that's not very relaxing. So I would say I have two also, I guess. I would say Practical Magic is definitely up there for me.
Ooh, good choice.
Oof. That is a very good choice. Did you know they're actually making a second part to that one?
I think I saw that. We'll see how it is.
Nice. Very cool. All right, and Fernando, let's hear it. Round us out.
Well, that's a tough question, Alfred. But I would say The Others and probably Home Alone. So, both,
The Others with Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
All right, so we had two Nicole Kidman entries. I'm going to go with the seminal classic Hocus Pocus. I mean, you can't go wrong with that one. But yeah, there we go. So now that we broke the ice, let's go ahead and let's dive straight into this webinar. So software is supposed to... Oh, that's right. I have my moderator on the back end reminding me. I wanted to go ahead and give you a quick tour around this spiffy platform that you have right in front of you. So we're going to go through the buttons left to right. First up, you have your media player, and we'll be living here for the duration of the webinar. And there's where the slides are. It's the second button, so you can follow along. The third button is going to be related content, which contains everything from links to guides to collateral and a copy of today's slides for you to take home. Q&A, this one's going to be really important, especially as the webinar keeps going. Make sure to drop your questions in here, so that way once we get to the Q&A section, we can get those answered for you. And then poll questions. Oh, I skipped presenters. That's where you're going to see our bios and our beautiful headshots. We paid a lot of money for those, so make sure to give us a compliment or two. Poll questions, those are going to be launched throughout the course of this webinar, so keep an eye out on those. And lastly, get a demo where you can reach out to us for a more in-depth demo that's tailored to your needs. The cool thing about this platform is that you can adjust the modules that you see on your console, make them bigger, make them smaller, remix them, and you'll still be able to access them from the toolbar. So go ahead and make yourselves comfy. We're going to be here for a bit. All right. And with that being said, let's dive in. So, software is supposed to make our lives easier, right? That's the quintessential theory. But sometimes it feels like it's just piling more onto our already full plates. Whether it's outdated, missing key features, or causing more headaches, we've all been there. It's frustrating, it slows us down, and it hits where it hurts, the bottom line. So, let's level set and let's talk about, and this is super important, the 7 red flags that you should be looking out for. And unlike the red flags with your previous ex, you're going to want to pay attention to these because they're super important. You like that one? I got some giggles in the background. So let's talk about the first one, which is outdated technology. And I'm about to show my age, but I've seen the admin. We went from the beeper to like the cell phone, the Motorola Razr, and then there was a huge leap, and then we had the iPhone. So in terms of modern tech and having outdated technology, what do you guys feel is going to be something, especially in the freight forwarding world, that you guys have seen that's just, wow, this person is still using a beeper as opposed to using an iPhone? And you guys are boots on the ground, so you've seen everything. I'm opening it up.
Well, I'll take the first one. I think when I have visited non-Magaya clients at their warehouse, watching what they do, their process, you still see pen to paper. Some customers or some non-Magaya customers are still using pen to paper and doing everything super manual. And that's where they get those mistakes. That's where they open themselves up to a ton of mistakes. There's some customers out there that still don't use any software at all. So it's honestly really incredible to see customers just living in prehistoric times for logistics. So hopefully we can get some of those customers to change that that mindset and move into technology a little bit more.
And I mean, that's a huge red flag. At that point, you're just walking into the office and they're firing up the old fax machine. Got to get that puppy purring, make sure that it's working. So the second point, thank you, Jeanette, the operational inefficiencies. And, business growth, customer happiness, profits really take a hit whenever you see inefficient operations. And why? Because you have so much manual work and it's slowing it down. And it harkens back to what you were mentioning, Jeanette. Lack of integration. This one's a big one because nowadays you have to make sure that your systems are talking to one another and they're happy. And I know that you guys have seen some stuff out there in terms of the lack of integration. So what can we share with the rest of the class?
Yeah, I know from my point of view, I've spoken with people that might use one vendor for multiple systems, but they're not speaking to each other. It's the same company, but yet their rate management doesn't integrate to their TMS, for example. So they're having to do a bunch of manual double entry when they should be, free flowing between each other.
Yeah. And that lack of communication, that's going to be a huge, like a poor user experience, which leads me to the next one. When you have a poor user experience, that has far reaching effects because, again, freight forwarding is a very customer oriented industry. You have to make sure that your customers are happy. And so what have you guys seen when it comes to poor user experiences out there in the wild? I mean, I know that.
Yeah.
Oh, go for it, Fernando.
Well, tell a story. Just keeping with the lack of integration and inefficiency, and also it resounds on poor user experience. But some years ago, I was working on trying to implement a new ERP in this company, and we had this software provider that sent the professional services or the implementator, to make some blueprints and learn about our processes and see what would be the best way to implement new software, right, for us. So after many meetings and him exploring the company and what we were doing on our processes and what tools we had, I remember this meeting where he go and says, you know what, I think you're a company of excellence, right? So I felt a little bit flattered. Because I
Okay,
thought, I mean,
excellent.
we're not doing bad. Yeah. So, and then I was going to say something, and he jumped in and interrupted me and said, "Yeah, excellence, because you use Excel spreadsheets for everything. So
Oh my
you need
God.
to change that, right?" So and it's a true story. So I mean, and I'm not saying Excel is bad. I mean, it's a good tool. I like it, but sometimes as your company starts growing and you try to provide better tools and a better projection of what you're doing for your internal customers and outbounds, it's limited, right? So everyone in their desk working with their own spreadsheet and not communicating each other, and I think that's a red flag if you are in that kind of excellence.
That is a massive red flag. And by the way, whoever told you that, first of all, I'm stealing that. I'm going to use it from here on in. But secondly, whoever said that, if freight forwarding doesn't work out for them, they should look into stand-up comedy, because that was, I think, the worst burn I've ever heard in a while. But that was awesome, Fernando. Thank you for sharing that. And so we have these other three red flags, the limited scalability that restricts your business's potential to grow, inadequate support, again, harking back to making sure that, freight forwarding is customer oriented. You want to make sure that customers are happy. And if you don't have adequate customer support, what do you get? Long wait times, insufficient responses, service gaps. And then last but not least, compliance issues. Compliance issues are huge, and we're going to dive in a little bit more later on. So these are the 7 red flags that you should be looking at them. Some of the people on this webinar, you probably thinking, yeah, my company falls into a couple of these, maybe 3 or 4. And if you're the unicorn that all 7 of them relate to you, oh boy, do we have an interesting presentation. But let's move on. And we're at our first poll question for the webinar. And it's, which of these challenges have you experienced? So go ahead, be honest, take the opportunity to vent. What is it? Is it the lack of real-time visibility? Is it the poor customer service? Do you have a ton of backlog with paperwork? Recurring IT headaches? I think we're all familiar with those. Scalability or securing data? And we'll give you a second to go ahead and answer these.
Yeah, securing data is a big one that I've seen lately. For some reason, some customers are still on their own local servers instead of being protected on the cloud. So that's a big one that I see come up a lot with our customers.
And so what happens when that server crashes?
It's not usually the server crashing. It's more so having these ransomware attacks. I had a couple experiences probably about a year or 2 ago when a customer's database in Trinidad, if I remember correctly, was hacked and they were held up for ransom. So luckily, we were able to swoop in and help them out and get them set up on our cloud in probably about 2 weeks, which is really quick for us to get that set up and going and have them get back and running with Magaya as soon as possible. So being on the cloud is a big one, and securing your data, you definitely need to have that backed up.
No, absolutely. Especially nowadays where everything lives on the cloud. All right. So we level set. We talked about the red flags. We talked about what you should be looking on when it's time to break up with your current freight forwarder or your current software. But let's talk about how the right logistics software can impact your business. And here you have 6 key benefits, which is, for example, 1, improved visibility, cost reduction, enhanced accuracy, increased scalability, faster decision-making, sustainability. Now, you're probably thinking sustainability, we're talking about software. No, but efficient software can actually help reduce fuel consumption by optimizing routes and loads, which contributes to a more sustainable supply chain. Now, you guys, and I'm opening this up to the broader group, so whoever wants to talk about it, where have you seen like a night and day transformation inside of your experiences? Like when it comes to how all of a sudden you brought that person out of excellence, how Fernando said, or the beeper era, and you put them and you showed them the light of how things could be.
Well, for me, I actually I just had that experience this morning with
Oh,
a company
that's recent, Allison.
yeah, it was actually 2 hours ago. But this company, they are growing rapidly, and this is more on the rate management side of things, but they're doing things, excellently through Excel spreadsheets, and they have all of their contracts on paper. So they're literally having to sort through, you know, sheets of paper whenever quoting customers, and they have to do this every day, multiple times a day. So, and showing them the system, they were like, "Wow, this is 2024. This is what we should be doing. We'll be able to keep up with our business growth with a system like this." So, I think that they definitely they saw the light, and I always love that when you can see it in their eyes. They're really excited about it. So, just happened this morning.
It's a huge transformation. Well, I'm so glad that we scheduled this webinar for Thursday and not Tuesday. If not, we wouldn't have had that experience right there, that anecdote. Thank you, Allison. So we've already seen the pitfalls. We now know the benefits of how the right logistics software can impact your business. But now we're going to give you guys the tools, our audience, and it's going to be 7 key questions to ask when considering new software. You know, this is completely agnostic. This is a webinar that's presented by Magaya, but at the same time, these questions are just super important questions that will let you know, hey, maybe it is time that I need to find a different or better solution. And don't fall for the pitfall, which is picking something shiny and new. It's about making sure that it meets your specific needs to set you up for success. And we're going to break down those key questions. So the first one is, what specific logistics functions does the software support? And you're going to be wanting to look for these 3 things, which is streamlining processes, reducing errors, and boosting operational efficiency. So now again, to the broader team, what are some instances where you've seen specifically Magaya has done this for our customers, especially when it comes to reducing errors? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
sorry.
I was
That's
actually
just
looking
the
at you,
excitement
Jeanette.
showing in me. I was like, "Oh, I
Oh
got
no,
one real quick."
absolutely. It's not the 3rd cup of coffee that you've been on since this
No.
morning to be able to make this webinar happen.
Yeah. Well, one being, I had a customer that they were moving into this huge facility, had a ton of growth, and they asked us, "Can you come on site? Tell us what we're missing in the warehouse to improve our situation. It feels like our process is really slow and everything is getting backed up when our warehouse guys are doing the receiving portion of things, whether it be pallets or parcels. We're taking a really long time. We're making errors. We're losing money. What can we do to improve this? How could we fix this problem that we're having?" And we sat down with them and just saw their whole operation. And we told them, you definitely need to have a parcel and pallet dimensioner. You're going to get the return on investment immediately, but also you're going to have pictures. You're going to have all the measurements, all the weight be instantly uploaded into your system. You're going to be able to capture things in less than 3 seconds and get that to your customer as soon as possible. All your team has to do is put it on a scale and click the capture button, and you're good to go. So that right away was something that streamlined their process, reduced the errors, and definitely boosted operational efficiency right away.
Brilliant. I'm a huge fan of the dimensioner. But for some of the people that might be on the webinar, Jeanette, that don't know what it is, can you tell us a little bit more of what a dimensioner is?
So a dimensioner is a piece of hardware that we place in your warehouse. So your team is able to, let's say, pick a pallet up with a forklift, place it on the scale, and then from there, go into their Magaya and capture, press the capture button, and then it instantly, all at once, takes pictures on all 4 sides of the pallet and on the top, and takes the dimensions and the weight, and instantly goes into your commodities tab in your warehouse receipt. So your team right away is reducing that time of having to take out that tape measure and check the scale and then enter everything into the system manually. This eliminates that manual work completely for your receiving team. And also on the way out, if you've done a repack on a pallet, they're able to capture that on the way out, the new dimensions and weight and the pictures of the item. So then when it gets to its destination, hey, there's 5 cases of alcohol missing on this. No, here's the picture showing you that all those 5 cases were at the top. There's nothing missing. It left our warehouse perfectly fine, and that reduces any cost to you in the future at destination.
Exactly. And I also love talking about the dimensioner, and I think that we've spent a little bit long on this slide, but I did want to mention an anecdote. We had this really cool dimensioner event recently, and we're always focusing about time because you want to streamline processes, you want to boost operational efficiency, but it's also about leaving money on the table. And I know you've seen this, Jeanette, because human error, the point to point, whenever you're doing it with a manual tape measure, the way that one person measures is not the same way that another person in the warehouse measures. Absolutely. So sometimes you're actually leaving money on the table, and that compounds. The more pallets you move out, the more parcels, the more mistakes that you make in terms of the longest width, height, and dimensions, the more money you're losing. So having a dimensioner, to me, is a no-brainer. It's honestly awesome. Okay, but like I said, I've spoken way too much about that one. Let's move on to the second one. So what APIs or integration options are available for connecting with other tools and platforms? Again, we're in the 21st century. It's 2024. Now we don't operate in these silos. We don't have, even though as much as everyone wants to say that they have an all-in-one, there are systems that you need to plug and play and have them work well together, because we live in a connected world. Businesses often rely on a combination of tools. So who can speak to this one and how important it is, especially that third bullet point, ERPs? Like, let's talk about the monopoly, or how huge, like Sage, Intact, QuickBooks, they are. That's their bread and butter. They do accounting software.
That's absolutely right, Alfred. And something that we have to take into account at this point is, and I'll now get a little bit one step behind. We need to think about software, how it relates with your business, and you need to understand that software will have a complete life cycle, right? So as you get new technology, new software, probably at one point when you're acquiring or you're deciding or where to go and what software to use, you're probably a small company, trying to achieve certain goals, but you will grow. So that would be the life cycle. So you will start with some starting point, probably one piece in the puzzle. But as you grow, you will need more tools, right? That will support that growth. And that's the scalability. Because if you are, restrained on the tools that you have and your team and your any resources, you will be limited. So having these APIs for integration and knowing, even if you're not using it at the first time or the first day, knowing that you will be able to grow and connect all these different pieces, and then have just all your data in one place, or at least siloed into just one report, one board, one KPI that will help you make better decisions. This is really clue on what to use and when to implement and start using these connections.
That's exactly it. And I mean, every single person goes into business not to remain stagnant. Hopefully you're going to continue growing and you're going to become huge. And at that point, you may outgrow the solution that we have. So that's a fantastic point. Thank you, Fernando. APIs are super important, so make sure to ask about those. Third question, is the software user-friendly? And we highlighted that user-friendly for a very specific point, and easy to navigate for all team members. Again, we have so many different people. Their level of comfort with technology can vary. It can run the entire gamut. But making something that's user-friendly, you minimize training time, you increase adoption, and you limit the need for specialized hardware. Just knowing that you can go ahead and implement something without having to have a PhD is super important. And then not having a PhD is very important when it comes to implementing new software on there.
Yeah, and also teams, within companies, we use software all the time, right? In your hand, with your iPhone, with your in your TV even. So having something that it's easy to use and matches what your everyday experience is, it's very important. And not using old tools
Yeah,
that
no.
don't match with youngest generations.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is go through the entire, discovery process and demos and legal and pricing, all of that, just to implement a system that's not user friendly, that your team is not going to utilize. The whole point of a software is to make your lives easier, not more complicated.
Exactly. No, 100%. All right, moving on to question number 4. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Fernando. What customer support is available? And this one's big because ultimately, if in fact you do get into a pickle and now you need help, do they have 24/7 support? Do they have a dedicated account manager? That's actually really crucial because when problems arise, you want to be confident that you can get help quickly and efficiently.
No, I agree with you, Alfred. You hear a lot of horror stories with customers trying to get support for some type of issue that they're experiencing, but all they get are either links or links to videos and step-by-step instructions, but they want to speak to a real human being. Unfortunately, in some industries, or in our industry, there are people out there, there are providers out there that don't give you that personal touch like Magaya does. Unfortunately, in the world that we live in, there are people that aren't technically savvy in this kind of industry, and they need a little bit of more hand holding. So I had a customer that, unfortunately, he left Magaya last year and thinking the grass would be greener going into cargo wise, and unfortunately, for them, he left. Unfortunately, he came back to Magaya just because of the main reason is I couldn't speak to a human being. I needed more hand holding. I had a lot of issues going on, and they could not give me the support that I needed. And when coming back to Magaya, I knew that that's something that I remembered as a positive. I always had a whole team to help me 24/7 if I needed it. And they had me as a dedicated account manager. If they needed some escalation, they had me to fall back on. But it's unfortunate that you still have in today's world that you can't speak to humans, unfortunately.
No, it's very true.
Jeanette. Sorry, I'm
No,
glad you said that
Allison.
they had. I'm glad you said that they had you, because that does speak to just you as an account manager being there for them and having that relationship. So not only did they come back to Magaya, but they also came back to you.
Yeah.
And that was actually what I was about to say right now. I was like, Jeanette, this is the most important question of the webinar. How good did it feel once you got that email saying, take me back, please take me back?
No, it's obviously good. I let customers make their own decisions. If they felt that this is the push that they needed to do and go see if that grass was greener, and, a year later, they realized it wasn't any better, like they needed to come back to Magaya. And I felt good because, he came directly back to me saying, like, we want to get back into Magaya. We want to use your service. And me and Allison heard all those pain points in the meeting with the customer. And when speaking to him, he already told us, like, you guys don't really have to tell me much. I know what you guys have to offer, and I know what I'm getting myself back into with Magaya. And I'm so happy to be back and have somebody give me that hand holding that we needed and that personal touch. So kudos to Allison as well for showing him the value again of Magaya when we met with that customer.
That's the dream team right there. If you sign up with Magaya and you happen to have Jeanette and Allison as your team, you got the dream team as it is. All right, moving on. Number 5, does the software comply with relevant industry standards and regulations? This one's bigger. As we become a more and more digitally connected world, compliance is critical. You have to make sure that the software that you're using is adhering to relevant laws, that it has data protections, and that it has security measures in place.
Yep. Yeah, you'll want to be sure that the software that you are partnering with has, they're up to date with industry standards. So like SOC compliance, GDPR for data protection, ISO certifications for quality management. Basically, you want to ensure that you are protected from legal risks, security breaches. All of this could lead to reputational damage, which at the end of the day, nobody wants that. So when you're doing the research, make sure that the company you choose to partner with has these security measures in place.
Listen, the only reputation I want to be dealing with involves a blonde woman by the name of Taylor Swift.
I knew that was
Did you know?
I would have never guessed that.
I was about to say, you think that I'm going to host a webinar and at least not put one Taylor Swift reference? You're sorely mistaken. All right, number 6, what is the pricing structure? And this one's a big one. Subscription, one-time fee, per user pricing. This is all a big deal because sometimes if you don't understand the pricing structure, you're never going to know, or you're never going to be able to assess if the software actually fits your budget, not only now in the present sense, but you have to have the foresight to think about the future. And different pricing models can have significant financial implications. So this one, Jeanette, I personally want you, normally I would open it up to the broader group, but this one I feel is right. This is your bailiwick. So I'm letting you run with this one.
No, I'll take that one. So we do have a monthly subscription. It's based on the number of users, per user pricing, but also we have different services. And with those services, we have different pricing structures available based off of your volumes. So if you start with a smaller package on a service, we can scale up with you. If you're seeing, hey, the volumes are increasing with my company, we're growing significantly, we can grow with you. So you have different pricing structures available, but you will have from the beginning, if you have 2 users and let's say the DFP, the Digital Freight Portal, that is one monthly fee right there. And you have that one-time fee to get you implemented. So you're not going to have any other surprises later on. You're going to have your training and implementation hours at the beginning. And then from there on, if you want to have additional training, you could also do that as you go. If you have a new employee starting in the business, you could have separate training for them. So it's very simplified. You know what you're paying every month with Magaya. Unfortunately, with other providers, they give you that sticker price at the beginning, and then they leave off in those fine details. Hey, every time you create a shipment, every time you create a warehouse receipt, you're going to have additional transactions. So you have the sticker price at the beginning, but every month it's gonna change completely. So you're never gonna know exactly what you're paying with the other guy.
That per click pricing model, because nothing says fun like not paying, like in seeing your bill increase month over month, and then afterwards asking for a detailed invoice and having to sort through 15,000 clicks to see which one is the one that's causing the increase in pricing. Oh,
well, it goes back to that support. Good luck trying to speak to somebody on the other line to figure out what you're actually paying.
Oof, rough. It's rough out there. All right, number 7, and the final question. What kind of reporting and analytic capabilities does this software offer? And this is big, because data is what helps you make informed decisions. I love this expression. You don't know what you don't know. And that's why when you have comprehensive reporting, it lets you know what's going on in your business. You can monitor KPIs. You can identify trends, which are huge, optimizing processes, and ultimately it helps you improve the performance, especially managing day-to-day operations. Reporting is big. We do it in our industry inside of the SaaS B2B space. Freight forwarders have to do it as well.
Yeah, and again, when you're implementing new software in your company, it goes with what I mentioned before, how you grow within. And so the first step would be okay, where's this button, where's this field where I need to enter this data and learn how to use it and so on. But, after some time, it will be more and more important to, have tools to extract all that data that your operational team is making a big effort to enter, on daily basis. So now that I can see, in a high level or even in an operational level with reports or KPIs, if I'm heading north or south. Okay, so this will help us take better decisions to optimize processes. Regroup and try to adjust things. So this is very important, and not everyone in the company will be entering data, in the operational side, but also there's management would need these and only these from the software to find value. So this is a very, very important part of any software capability, and very important being able to customize these KPIs and make it fit for your needs.
Exactly. Yep. It's super important. It has to fit your business. So now that we've explored the challenges, those were the big red flags in the beginning. Now we've spoken about what questions you should be asking when making an informed decision. Now it's the shameless plug. I'm just kidding. It's why you should consider Magaya as your partner in driving growth and efficiency in your operations. And so we're going to talk first about pretty much the entire Magaya Digital Freight platform. Now, there was one thing that I wanted to correct. In the beginning, I was talking about Fernando, and I mentioned that he was an expert in all things WMS. And that still holds true, but he is actually our product manager when it comes to the DFP, which is the Digital Freight Portal. And then when it comes to the DFP, the Digital Freight Platform, he's also an expert. So what can you tell us about this, Fernando?
Well, DFP, it's your way to expose the image, the level of service that you want to reflect to your customers, right? Once you are dealing with all the internal operations, then you want to hand something different, right, to your customers, where they can track their shipments, where they can see how things are going, and exposing the digital freight portal, where you will have this nice site with your colors, your company logo, all your your, it's like entering into your office. Like they need to feel like it's your colors. It is the same as going into your office and finding their important or information and tracking your shipments, as I mentioned. But also important, this could be also a sales tool, because it will give you the ability to expose and share, your rates, so they can find, a quote and proceed to book. So you are optimizing your process already. So it's not using the cell phone anymore or email. So customers can, do self-serve, search for a rate, book a shipment, and then track it in the portal.
Fernando, you're on fire today. Alfred's gonna steal the excellence, and I'm going to steal the feels like it's like walking inside your office. I'm definitely going to use that on demos, because today I say it looks like your website. I'm going to say it feels like you're walking into your office. I like that.
That's right.
No, it's perfect too, because all the amount of customization and the branding, and honestly, you want the DFP to be an extension of everything that you work so hard to build. Like your freight forwarder, you put thought into the name, you put thought into the paint colors, you put thought into the coffee that you're going to provide in the break room for the employees. So why something as important as your digital freight portal that your customers are going to see, it should be an extension of everything that you've created, this incredible story of who you are as a freight forwarder. But moving on, we're now talking about customs compliance. And for those of you shopping for the right ABI solution, here's a couple of things that Allison is going to be able to share with us.
Yep, so there's a few things that you'll want to keep in mind. You'll need accurate, rapid, high volume screening. This is so that you can do this efficiently, and then those denied party lists, it'll help replace those time-consuming manual processes. Again, everything is about saving time and making your lives easier. You'll also want better change notification management. So a leading edge solution should understand the priority levels and how these changes need to be delegated. And again, this will allow you to focus on, escalating other things such as suspect trade transactions. You'll also want automation and enablement tools, and this will basically help streamline the trade sanction obligation management. And if you have the right tools in place for these workflows, it again minimizes those tedious tasks and helps you to focus on taking corrective actions. And of course, this one here, an intuitive interface, it might seem obvious. Like we said earlier, you want a user-friendly software, but if you can't easily navigate your ABI platform, then you're not going to be able to reap the benefits.
Exactly.
Yep. And then you also want a customs compliance tool that is ACE certified. This is obviously crucial for ensuring the regulatory compliance. And then that means that your software will meet the US CBP standards. And this, of course, in turn helps you remain compliant, which if you're compliant, you reduce the risks of errors, which we know leads to the dreaded fines and delays and penalties, which nobody wants.
Nobody wants that. And honestly, Allison, this is the reason why I always ask that you're on any panel that I'm on, because you've literally made customs compliance exciting and interesting. So, thank you for that. We have the next one, which is you're welcome. I'll expect my gift fruit basket in the mail soon. Last but not least, we have Insights by Magaya, which is the new kid on the block, and we honestly love Insights by Magaya. And it creates these out-of-the-box stories for finance, your shipments, carriers, your warehouse ops. But I'm not going to talk about it because I know someone that can make it sound just as interesting as customs compliance.
I'll try my best. It's hard to follow up after Allison. But Insights by Magaya, like it says, it's out of the box stories. So what's critical in today's world is data. Having that data to make your next move, where to go. If you see that you're dominating the Caribbean, why aren't you as dominant in South America, Central, Mexico? So you want to see in these reports, you're automatically given 7 reports by Magaya with it, warehousing, accounting, shipments, etc. So you're able to view the data and see where you can make your next moves. It's a really exciting tool that we use today to see where we're at. We want to see, why are there so many open invoices in accounting? Why are we struggling in these different markets? So for me, data is a very critical aspect of your business, whether it's the shipments, the carriers, and warehouse operations. This tool will enable you to do more with your business. In Magaya, yes, you're able to see reports, but this gives you a lot more detailed reports. You're able to create PowerPoint presentations to do those quarterly business meetings with your customers and show them, this is where we're at. Let's increase the volumes. Where can we go next? So it's a really powerful tool, makes your business look super professional, and I would say even elite. You're separating yourself from the other guys and showing your customers, we have the data to keep growing with you and becoming even better partners. So I definitely love this tool. It's something that we always open all our demos with, is Insights by Magaya. It's a great business intelligence tool that every customer should really have.
No, I wholeheartedly agree, Jeanette. And what's impressive is that it's also a negotiation tool. Am I right? Like here you have this contract or this agreed upon rate with a customer, and they're not fulfilling their end of the bargain. So when it comes time to, renew or talk about more shipments, it's we're coming into this with a whole different conversation, beloved. So buckle
and
up.
it's super customizable as well. That's one thing. Yeah, we give you 7 reports already that you could go into it and start using the tool right away. But if you need more detailed reports, if your customer is asking you for different information that you may not provide today, Magaya could help you customize those different reports to share with your customers. So yes, you have 7 reports, but the customizable options of this is incredible.
And we love options here at Magaya.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
With that being said, we're moving on to our next poll question. So, which of these Magaya solutions would come in handy for your operations based on what we've seen right now with the DFP, the customs compliance portion, Insights by Magaya, or all of the above? You can go ahead and answer that. It should pop up on your screen right now in a quick second. And then right after this, we're going to go head first into the Q&A portion. So get ready with those questions. Anything that you want to ask me, Allison, Fernando, Jeanette, please feel free to go ahead and hit us with your best shot. We'll try to go ahead and get those answered for you. And with that, let's move on to the Q&A portion. And we have one question here, which is, how does the Magaya Digital Freight Portal integrate with other logistics and supply chain systems? I'm thinking this one's more geared to you, Fernando.
Sure. Well, it's all about the APIs, as we mentioned before. The API will be the connector where we can do some mappings so that both systems that are communicating or sharing data will speak sort of the same language, so that you can use the digital freight portal with external systems, to say it one way. So it's one way to implement. There's also other tools as connectors that can be used, but the capability is there, and the full potential of integrating two systems and using the portal as the tracking and quoting site for your customers.
Very nice. Very cool. There's one that just came in right here, and I'm actually not so sure, but it says, does Magaya offer e-airway bill? Anyone can tackle this one.
I'll take that one. So yes, Magaya definitely offers electronic airway bill. Right now in the industry, a lot of airlines today are asking for the airway bills to be filed electronically. So we definitely have that available today. It's something you could have up and running within a week, if not less.
Oh, wow. That one's quick.
It's a great tool to streamline things a lot faster and file it directly to the airline before the shipment even arrives to the airline. So it's a really great tool to help you out and follow today's process with airlines as they want it all electric. That's the world that we live in today is all digital.
The Amazon effect, and everyone, even freight forwarders, are feeling it. All right, and here's another one. What security measures are in place to ensure the protection of sensitive data within the DFP? That one seemed like a trick question.
Yeah, I mean, as Alison mentioned before, we're aligned with all these SOC, GDPR compliance. Also, the servers that we use, AWS and all that, will make sure that your data is safe, and we won't have issues in that matter. So you can feel safe on that side.
We're not trying to get any ransomware attacks, Fernando. So we've got to make sure that we have a secure system.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, everyone. Well, I just want to go ahead and say thank you to everyone that joined me today, the panelists. This is a fantastic group of people. We absolutely love every single last one of them. Thank you, Jeanette, Allison, and Fernando, for providing your wealth of information. And thank you all for joining us here today in this afternoon. With that, I'll go ahead and I'll say my goodbyes, and we'll catch you at the next webinar. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.